One thing I've learned from reading the Russian papers regularly is that for a particularly rosy picture of life in Russia, the place to go to is Komsomolskaya Pravda. Today, it tells you that watermelon prices are tumbling, living standards are rising. The head of the Russian Public Opinion Research Centre, Valery Fyodorov, declares that in Russia, today most people feel not worse off, but better off than 3 years ago. In terms of work, wages, there are problems with buying homes and cars and luxury holidays. They're much more expensive. Salaries can't keep up and loans are expensive. But most importantly, most people are certain that tomorrow will be better than today. And this, against the backdrop of the special military operation, Russia's war in Ukraine, a large part of the Russian people is better off. Well, it's true that Russians who volunteer to fight in Ukraine can earn very large sums of money. But it's also true that large numbers of Russian soldiers have been killed over the last 3.5 years. Komsomolskaya Pravda also reports that Russians are buying fewer luxury goods, less jewellery, fewer brands. Instead of attributing this to the economic situation in the country, a family psychologist says this: people no longer want to appear rich and successful. In the past, people even took out loans to buy brands and jewellery. Now we're concentrating on true values. The family, warm relations with loved ones. This is the fashion now. So why overpay for showy luxury? Later, an economist makes a rather important point. In difficult economic conditions, first and foremost, families cut back on goods and services that are not essential. First of all, that's holidays and entertainment. And from the front page of Nezavisimaya Gazeta today, it's clear that economic conditions are difficult in Russia. Domestic industry sinks into pessimism. Various leading indicators characterising the situation in industry point to a further increase in negative sentiment, despite some easing of the central bank's monetary policy. In July, Russian enterprises continued to rapidly reduce orders, which led to a fall in production volumes. On the front page of Izvestia today, banks are refusing to ease credit conditions for Russians on a mass scale. Banks are denying Russians credit holidays and debt restructuring on a mass scale. 80% of appeals remain unsatisfied, the central bank's press service told Izvestia. Finally, in Siberia, a pensioner has been refused permission for a toilet at home. Moskovsky Komsomolets writes that the story is beyond absurd. Pensioner Svetlana Podchasova has been ordered by a court to remove the toilet, which had been installed inside her house. The elderly lady lives in a wooden house built in 1900. According to documents, the pre-revolutionary house shouldn't have a WC. The lady had been in long discussions with local officials, trying to convince them that living without a toilet in the 21st century was extremely undesirable, but to no avail. So Podchasova had installed a toilet without permission.